Hi guys, James Orr, founder of Decisive Trading. First thing to say is if you are just looking for my typical trading videos that I normally post up, this one's not for you, so just skip past it. I'm about to head to India for 2 weeks where I'm going to be doing a motorbike tour on an old Royal Enfield. I'm starting in New Delhi, heading through the Himalayas and across the highest road in the world. So what I'm going to do is, as a way to document the trip for myself, but also as a way to share it with you guys, I'm going to make a vlog of the 2-week holiday. Now, there should be some pretty cool scenery, especially going across those mountain passes. Hopefully I don't come off the bike during this 2-week period. It's time for me to swap the Decisive Trading cap for a hat like this, and I hope you all enjoy the video. Okay, we've just arrived in Manali after a 15-hour bus drive. We actually had a quite serious incident on the way here. It's really put a bit of a damper on the trip. What happened was, around about 7 or 8 hours into the bus journey, we came around a mountain pass and there was a traffic jam of trucks, maybe about 10 or 15 trucks. We stopped behind the last truck and we got out of the bus. We were walking around, basically, we were taking some pictures of the scenery. It transpired that there had been a landslide. So we're basically waiting for that to be cleared before we could then move on. Now, where the bus was parked, we had left maybe about 5 or 6 meters to the truck in front. And in those 5 to 6 meters, we were standing, taking some pictures. I was basically standing with my dad and my uncle on that sort of cliff edge with the beautiful background behind us, and someone was taking a picture of us. And then there was a sound, which to me it sounded like a really, really deep rumble of thunder coming from very, very far away. Didn't really think much of it at first, and then it came again. And when it came again, I basically looked up into the mountain, and there was a boulder coming down the mountain about the size of a medium-sized car. It was hurtling down the mountain, bouncing down the mountain. It was causing this really, really deep roar sound. So basically, it was coming down toward us. I grabbed my dad and I grabbed my uncle, shouted something, I can't really remember what. I think I said, "We need to get the hell out of here now." As we started to move away, this boulder came down and it hit the truck that was parked in front of our bus. So basically from the front of our bus to the middle of this truck in front, maybe about 15 meters, it smashed straight into the side of the truck. The truck like accordioned, and at the same time it was thrown into the air and it started to spin. It went over the edge of the cliff and was tumbling on the way down. And then after about 3 spins, it made its first hit on the side of the mountain. When it hit the side of the mountain, the 2 people who were inside that truck, they came flying out of the windshield. And you know, there's no real way to explain it. The truck just kept spinning down the mountain, smashing as it did. These 2 poor people were getting thrown around. I've never seen bodies contort like that before in my life. And then, you know, that truck landed at the bottom. As soon as that truck landed, obviously this whole line of trucks now knows what's happening. Everyone starts to panic. Horns start going, trucks start slamming into reverse and basically, you know, just putting their foot down. 2 trucks One was reversing, one was obviously a lot more eager to get out, and it smashed into the front of the other truck. Our bus that we were on, the drivers were trying to get the bus out of there, and actually some of the people on the tour were, relatively near behind the bus. They almost got taken out by the bus. There was actually 2 people who were sitting on the bus as the rock came down. They had, they were totally oblivious to what happened. All they seen was everyone running past the bus. A couple of their friends started banging on the windows, telling them they needed to get out. And at first they thought it was a joke. They thought someone was just winding them up. So yeah, it was easily one of the worst experiences, if not the worst experience of my life. Just seeing that truck going down, seeing those 2 poor people coming out of the front of that truck. This trip was supposed to just be a lot of fun, lots of nice scenery, taking some bikes around some beautiful roads. But I was making a vlog of the trip, and this is now part of the trip. So I thought I would share it with you guys. Now, literally a couple of minutes before, I was taking videos of this traffic jam. The picture that was taken of me, my dad, and my uncle was maybe 30 seconds before this boulder started to make this noise, and it started to come down the side of the mountain. My uncle and my dad actually had, this is how close we were to it, they actually had dots of mud along their back. I think I've got a picture of that, I can post that up. It's basically got dots of mud along their back where, as this boulder hit the ground, before it then rolled into the truck, it kicked up dirt and debris, and it splashed their back. That's how close they were to this boulder. So yeah, not the best start to the trip, but I'm here for 2 weeks. I'm going to try my best to get back into a positive note. I'm hoping a good sleep is going to sort of fix me up. When you hear people talking about things like stressed after an accident and stuff, I always used to think to myself, shut up talking all that nonsense. But now I can completely understand it. I was sitting downstairs having dinner, and I was trying to eat soup, and my hand was shaking, and I couldn't stop it shaking, even though I was telling myself stop being an idiot. You've witnessed the accident, you're absolutely fine, I need to get over it. The body just wasn't listening, the hands were shaking. So we're going to see how we get on, but hopefully we can get back into this trip and we can have a good time. There was a couple of people who actually, after the accident, from our group, they were taking GoPro of down the mountainside of the accident. I didn't do that. 2 people came out of that. If it was just the truck, yeah, absolutely. 2 people came out of that truck. I think it's a huge amount of disrespect to people who are very, very likely, almost certainly dead. Trying to get GoPro footage so you can show your friends when you get home. But so that was my first day in the Himalayas. Tomorrow I'm going to be picking up the Royal Enfield and we're going to start the riding. Okay, so I'm feeling a lot better this morning, nice and refreshed after a good sleep and a nice hot shower. I'm just about to head down and get the bike. So before that, let's have a quick look at the view from the room. Okay, I'm going to head down and get the Royal Enfield. For a bit of fun, I'm going to do it in the style of every YouTube car reviewer out there. Okay guys, day 8 and we are in the Nubra Valley now. We're at a campsite called the Organic Campsite. Well, it describes itself as a campsite, but I mean these tents, they're more luxurious than a lot of houses. There's hot water, showers, electricity, lights, there's even a radiator in this tent that I'm in. Another cool thing is that because it's the Organic Campsite, they literally grow all their fruit and vegetables right here on site. So when you're eating fruit and veg for lunch, for dinner, it's coming from the garden. They're literally picking it, getting it ready and putting it on your plate. So you can't really get any fresher. So for the trip so far, well, quite a lot of things to go over really. The first thing is it's a lot more tough going than I was expecting. I mean, the riding here, I would say probably only about 30% of the time are we on something that I would describe as a road. Usually it's going through rivers, riding through sand, riding through just what is, you know, the remnants of what used to be a road and is now just boulders, gravel, very, very loose stuff. A lot of people, I think about 75% of the group now have come off of their bikes at least once, including me. I've came off once. I basically came around a corner, there was a bridge, you know, the corner just very, very sharp turn, then the bridge is right there, tractor on the bridge, the guy in front of me slammed his brakes on, I slammed my brakes on, the front wheel locked, the bike dug in and basically did a full 180 and I came off. Luckily I am, you know, completely fine. But with it being such difficult riding as well, you know, you've got to add onto that the general danger of riding in this area. I mean, if we just look at the accidents that I've seen so far, not including you know, just the regular spills. So on day 2, we had the truck going off of the mountainside. One of the owners of Ride Expeditions, a guy called Toby who's with us, he's actually going to change the tour now so that no one has to go through that valley again on the bus, you know, purely because he doesn't want to have the responsibility if anything like that happens again. I mean, the boulder was literally, it hit the truck in front of our bus. Could have been so much worse for our group. Then after that, I should also explain actually, we're at quite a high altitude, so I'm running out of breath quite a lot. You can probably hear it in my voice when I am talking to you. After the truck got taken off the mountain, then we seen a local guy had came off his bike. The locals here, they ride without a helmet. This guy was just wearing a pair of Adidas tracksuit bottoms. He hit a bump, he got a tank slapper on his bike, he came off. Our medic had to go and look after him, basically shattered all his knee, all his legs were all ripped up. I don't know, you know, it could have been a lot worse for him also because he wasn't wearing a helmet. After that, we came round a mountain pass, we were having lunch, and then a couple of trucks came up and raced up to us because obviously they could see we were a tour group. They were hoping we had a medic. Our medic had to go back. A motorbike had crashed into a car. The guy had busted up his head and our medic had to take him to hospital. Yesterday, quite a lot. So there's quite a lot of stuff that has been happening. It's quite mentally exhausting, but it's also, I have to say, you know, as bad as it sounds, it's been very, very rewarding. So yesterday, I think I've actually got this on video as well. The girl in front of me, who is on our tour, she came around a corner, just a random patch of sand on the road, happens all the time, and she hit it, the bike started to skid, there was a huge drop to the right of her, and luckily she managed to catch that bike. So the tour has been very rewarding, but also mentally exhausting. Now you get to your hotel, you get to your campsite, you've been riding for 7-8 hours over this really, really rough stuff, you just really want to go to bed. But, you know, being Scottish, we also have a beer. The beers here, they don't have a set alcohol content, you know, alcohol volume. It'll say something like between 5 and 8% on the can. So you have a couple of beers after this exhausting riding and suddenly you're, you know, staggering around your campsite, staggering around your hotel, and you wake up and you've got a very, very nice hangover for the next day. So coming up next, what do we have? Well, tomorrow we are riding back to Leh. And tomorrow we're going to be going over the highest vehicle accessible road in the world. So I'm really looking forward to that. You know, that's the whole point of this trip. It's the main day tomorrow. We've already went over the second highest and the third highest. There's been a couple of people in the group actually when we've been doing that who have come down with altitude sickness really, really badly. They've had to be on oxygen, they've had to go in the truck, they've had to get drips and stuff put into them so they could get vitamins back into their body. I travelled around South America a few years ago and I did the Inca Trail, which, you know, you fly into Lima and then you walk the Inca Trail. I didn't really get any altitude sickness doing that, and I think it's because you're walking the trail. And when you're walking the trail, your body is acclimatizing very, very slowly. But when you're doing it on motorbikes, you're changing altitude so quickly that your body can't adjust. And the best way I can describe it is, a couple of days ago we were sitting on the roadside. This is another thing actually. This is how the Indians do roadworks. So we're coming along the road, all of a sudden there's just big boulders set out in the road on this side, and then maybe about a mile the other way, there's big boulders blocking off that side of the road, and they're literally laying the road. You just have to get off your bike. We were there for about an hour and a half. There was just the trucks dropping the tarmac, the rolling it all flat, and we just had to sit and wait until that was finished. But whilst that was happening, I was tired, so I sat down at the side of the road, put my head down. I was thinking about going for a siesta. And what happens is, I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like when you're breathing normally, you don't breathe in a in a cyclical manner. It's not the same breath that you take each time, and you don't notice that because when you're not at high altitude, there's plenty of oxygen. But when I was doing that at the side of the road, I would almost feel like I was suffocating. So when my body took a smaller breath, the next breath I would be gasping and I would sit up because it felt like I was drowning, or someone was constricting around my throat and I couldn't get enough air into my body. It's the strangest sensation you can imagine. But okay, so tonight we are just going to stay in this campsite. I'm just going to take it easy because we've got the big ride tomorrow down to Leh, and then when we get to Leh, it's the tour guide Toby's birthday, and it's another guy's birthday as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to get there, we're going to have a few beers, celebrate the trip, celebrate the experiences that we've shared together, and hopefully it's going to be a nice easy ride tomorrow and nobody is going to come off their bikes. Okay guys, for the last part of this video, I am actually back in Edinburgh. Throughout the trip, I was having a lot of trouble with the GoPro audio, and in the last couple of days, it just packed up completely. It would still do video, but anytime there was any audio, it just was not recording it. So I'm sure you've seen from the footage, we made it to the highest road in the world. You know, we got up there, we were surrounded by snow, and it was almost a sense of elation, but also relief as we got off of those bikes. Everyone was high-fiving, hugging. It's purely because although we had got to the highest road in the world, it had been so much more difficult than anyone expected that it was like a release of all the tension. You know, we'd finally made it, everyone was safe, there was no really bad injuries. I mean, throughout the trip, as I mentioned, loads of people fell off their bikes. People had to go in the support truck on oxygen because they were suffering from altitude sickness. There was literally people who were falling off their bike and they were so angry that they were just standing next to the bike, kicking the bike because, you know, it was so much more difficult than they had expected and they just didn't think they were going to be able to do it. But everybody got up there. Absolutely fantastic feeling when we got there. Even better for me because I was with my dad and my uncle. You know, we have a pretty unique relationship in that although we're family members, I also look at them as really close friends. I would have, you know, no problem, let's say I'm going out for a beer, I'm going out for a meal and I want someone to hang out with. I'd have no problem just firing a text off to my dad and my uncle. Really, any of my close family. You know, we're quite a tight-knit unit. We're quite we're quite friendly with each other, and it's, you know, it makes it even better when you get up there. You're with your family members, but you're also with some of your best friends. Now, although we made it, and although it was that sense of release and relief when we got there, I have to say that we were mentally and physically broken. Our bodies ached, really bad tension across your shoulders. For me and my uncle, my dad had a really bad hip, he had a really bad ankle from previous injuries that had flared up during the riding. So for the very end of the trip, what I did was I booked us into a very nice hotel in New Delhi. You know, this is the only time where you'll see me doing the typical Instagram trader crap. But because we had gone through so much, I was happy to book us into that hotel, and we had the last night you know, in a jacuzzi, in a spa, relaxing, and then we went into the lounge. We had a bunch of beers and we just reflected on the trip. What we had actually accomplished. It was an absolutely great way to end that trip. And what I'm also going to say is, it's not something that I typically do, but the people who hosted the tour, Ride Expeditions, and specifically Toby, who is one of the owners, he was absolutely fantastic the whole way through the trip. Everything was organised so well. He looked after the group. You know, nothing was too difficult for him. If you had a query, if you had something you wanted, he made sure that he sorted it out for you. So if you are ever thinking about doing any sort of motorbike tour, you know, I highly advise that you pop onto Ride Expeditions website. If you're going to do the Himalayas one, the thing to note is that Toby has said he is changing the start of the trip because of what we experienced, because, you know, because of the landslide that we witnessed and because it was so close to us. He's actually changing the entire start of the trip so that no other group has to do it. And because, you know, he is responsible for the group, and he feels the responsibility for the group, and he doesn't ever want to have someone getting seriously injured whilst on one of his tours. So all that leads me to say, guys, is that I'm back in Edinburgh. I have actually just had a couple of days of trading already. I have to say I am pretty sad like that, and I'm pretty happy to be in front of the charts. I hope that you have enjoyed this video I've put together. You know, I'm not pretending in any way to be a video expert, video editing expert. It's just a correlation of some of the best moments of the trip that I've put into a video so that I have something to reflect back on in the future, but also so that I can share it with you guys.